So there are only two people that can save us from a Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl, and that's Josh Allen and Jayden Daniels. This rookie quarterback went from his teammates in college raiding and ransacking his locker to leading his team to a conference championship and a shot at the Super Bowl. We're about to find out how that happened. So Jayden Daniels was born in San Bernardino, California on December 18, 2000. He was always into sports growing up, and as a kid he really loved basketball, but unfortunately being a smaller kid, he realized that his chances of making it to the league were slim, so he decided to switch it over to football. Now for his dad, this seemed like the logical decision because he used to play football in college at Washington and he wanted his son to do the same. So Daniels decided to try out for quarterback at Cajon High School, but unfortunately the one issue was that for a quarterback he was very undersized, and he even had to get a waiver signed by a pediatrician to allow him to play. So obviously going into his freshman year there were a lot of doubts concerning the young guy, but he put those to rest as he played pretty well. He threw for almost 2,700 yards and 35 touchdowns in his freshman year, and then his sophomore year, ending the season with 5,100 passing yards with 62 touchdowns on a 70% completion rate. And with that he had almost 1,300 rushing yards with 15 rushing touchdowns. Same thing in his senior year, he had 4,500 passing yards with another 60 touchdowns on a 70% completion rate, and he ran for over 1,500 yards with 16 rushing touchdowns. Now because of these performances, he really put his high school on the map and received a total of 26 college offers. Now he also had the honor of joining the Elite 11 football training camp where he did pretty well, and he narrowed down his college offers to 8 schools including USC, UCLA, and Texas A&M. In the end, he decided to commit to ASU. Now in his freshman year, he ended up earning the role of starting QB. He ended the season with almost 3,000 passing yards and 17 touchdowns and over 350 rushing yards. Now everything was looking good for the young quarterback up until the start of the 2020 season. Now because of the restrictions, he was only able to play a total of 4 games where he racked up 700 passing yards with 5 touchdowns and over 220 rushing yards with 4 touchdowns. Now heading into his junior year at ASU, that's where all the drama and all the adversity started to hit Jayden. Now heading into this season, ASU fell under investigation for recruiting violations, and it even so happened that his mom was involved in the drama and was said to have taken part in these violations. And not only this, but both of his grandparents died within weeks of each other. So obviously there's a lot going through Jayden's head at the time, and this affected his play on the field. Now during that season, he threw for under 2,400 passing yards with 10 touchdowns, and up until this point Jayden was really good at taking care of the ball, but unfortunately during the season that wasn't the case. He threw for 10 interceptions that season, which was 5 times more than what he had done so far. Now because of everything that was going on at ASU, and because he saw the success that CJ Stroud was having and that Bryce Young was having, Jayden Daniels decided to enter the transfer portal and switch to LSU. Now this is something that his teammates didn't take very well. They felt like Jayden was abandoning them, so they recorded himself raiding his locker and ransacking his locker and throwing out all his stuff and saying that yeah, Jayden sucks anyways. Now you would think that a situation like this would affect him in a negative way, but it actually didn't. During his first season at LSU, Jayden threw for almost 3,000 passing yards with 17 touchdowns and brought down his interception total to just 3. Now on top of this, he also had almost 900 rushing yards with 11 rushing touchdowns, making him a really good dual threat quarterback. One thing about Jayden Daniels is that when he starts to play well, he really starts to feed off that. He starts feeling way more confident, and that shows on the field and that shows in his numbers. In his last season at the LSU, he had an unbelievable season where he threw for almost 4,000 passing yards with 40 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions, making a 10-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, which is insane. And on top of that, he had over 1,100 rushing yards with 10 rushing touchdowns with an 8.4 yards per carry average, which is nuts. And these performances were enough for him to win the Heisman Trophy that year. It was after that season that he decided to declare for the 2024 NFL Draft, and it was during that draft that he got selected 2nd overall by the Washington Commanders, just behind Caleb Williams. Jayden Daniels was stepping foot into a fresh organization. The Washington Commanders have made a lot of moves during the offseason. They fired the previous head coach and they brought in Dan Quinn for the role. Dan Quinn had some success in Atlanta, as we know. He brought the team to a Super Bowl, and he also did a really good job in Dallas when he was the defensive coordinator over there. And on top of that, the team decided to add some veterans with experience to the roster, including linebacker Bobby Wagner and tight end Zach Ertz. Now Jayden earned the starting role at quarterback for the Washington Commanders, and week 1, unfortunately they did end up with a loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but after that they went on to win 7 of their next 8 games. Now this includes an amazing week 3 performance where Jayden Daniels had 2 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown, as well as a 91% completion rate, which was an NFL rookie single game record. Now during the stretch, Jayden Daniels led their team to a win against the Bears, throwing throwing for over 300 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. Fortunately, Jayden Daniels didn't have to miss too much playtime, which was one of the concerns coming into the season. Being an undersized quarterback, people thought that he would get injured pretty often, but he only had to leave the game during week 7 when he suffered a rib injury but came back the following week. And he also left the game early on their last game of the season in week 18 because he had a sore leg, and obviously they had already secured a spot in the playoffs, so they weren't really trying to risk anything. They just let him recover. Now the Commanders finished the season with a 12-5 record, second place in their division behind the Eagles, who finished 14-3, and Jayden Daniels himself had an exceptional season where he threw for over 3,500 passing yards and 25 passing touchdowns, and on top of that he had 891 rushing yards, which was a record by an NFL rookie quarterback. Now because of his exceptional personal numbers and his ability to transform the Washington Commanders and lead them to the playoffs, he obviously ends up winning NFL Rookie of the Year. Now like I said, they made it to the playoffs, so first game was the wild card against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to whom they lost in week 1 of the NFL season, but they had a different outcome this time. The Washington Commanders ended up winning the game 23-20 on a last second field goal that went through, hit the post, and went in. Daniels had a good game that day. He threw for almost 300 passing yards with 2 passing touchdowns, which was vital in helping his team win the game. Next up was the divisional series against the Detroit Lions, who had an amazing season. They finished the season 15-3, and they were obviously the heavy favorites to winning that game. But like I said before, when Jayden Daniels starts to gain confidence and start to play well, he excels, and that's exactly what happened in this case. The Washington Commanders ended up beating the Detroit Lions 45-31. Jayden Daniels had an amazing game again. He had 299 passing yards with 2 passing touchdowns, and he led the team to an incredible upset against one of the best teams in the league. So far, Jayden Daniels has been doing an amazing job at proving all the doubters wrong. He single-handedly led the team to one of the best seasons Washington has ever had, and certainly the best season they've had in a long time. And their playoff run so far has been nothing less than a fairy tale. They beat 2 amazing teams, Tampa Bay and Detroit, and right now they're about to face off against the Eagles in the conference championship, which is going on tomorrow. Jayden Daniels is a quarterback that I really like personally because I relate to him a lot. Growing up when I was in school, I was a really skinny kid. I was underweight. That's something that obviously he had to deal with, and that's something that people were holding against him. People didn't think he'd be able to make it to the league. People didn't think he'd be able to be a star player. People didn't think that he'd be able to lead a team to a championship. People didn't think he was going to be able to do all these things, and yet here he is. So he's just consistently proving all the doubters wrong. He's consistently playing well, and every time the team needs to clutch up, every time the team needs a big play, that's where Jayden Daniels hops in and takes control. So I'm honestly really excited to see what's going to happen tomorrow in the conference championships. And like I said at the beginning of the video, America needs, the world needs the Commanders to win this game, and I need Josh Allen to clutch up too, because the one thing that people don't want is another Kansas City and Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl. We don't want that. Nobody wants that. The Super Bowl that America wants is the Commanders against the Bills. So step 1, Jayden Daniels, please. It's honestly going to be a very interesting game because the Eagles have had an amazing season, and Saquon Barkley has honestly had one of the best seasons I've ever witnessed. So it's definitely going to be a very tough matchup. Saquon Barkley the last couple games has been playing unbelievable, so that's going to be key. The key for Washington to win is going to be them being able to stop the run game. I don't know how well they're going to do so because in the previous 2 meetings throughout the season, Saquon Barkley had both 146 rushing yards in their first game and 150 rushing yards in the second game. So historically, things haven't looked too good. They are 1-1 against the Eagles this season, so we know they're able to beat them. The key is just going to be holding Saquon Barkley to a minimum. Honestly, what we need is just Jayden Daniels to clutch up, to feel the pressure, because the more pressure he has on him, the more weight he has on his shoulders, the better he performs. So I honestly think he's going to play really well, and it's going to be an interesting game regardless, and I'm really excited to see that one. So all that being said, Jayden Daniels had an amazing rookie year. He honestly had like one of the best rookie seasons that we've seen in recent history, and that's saying a lot because we have a lot of really good talent over the last couple years. Obviously, CJ Stroud being a perfect example of that. I made a video about CJ Stroud a couple weeks ago, so if you guys haven't watched it, go check it out right now. But yeah, Jayden Daniels just had an amazing season, exceptional season, and he's honestly a really good talent, and his play style is just also very fun. Everyone loves a dual threat quarterback, and people have been comparing him a lot to Lamar Jackson. Obviously, like, I'm not saying he's on Lamar Jackson level just yet, but there are glimpses where he's like, okay, like he can throw the ball, but he can also run it. So defending against that is a nightmare, and hopefully he's able to do some damage to the Eagles this weekend. But yeah, he has a lot of good things coming to him in the future, and I'm excited to see exactly what he's able to do, and I'm excited to see how far he can bring his team. Who knows, maybe next year they have a shot at the Super Bowl, if not this year, you know? So best of luck to him, best of luck tomorrow. I'm excited to see everything that he has in store for us, and that's the story of Jayden Daniels. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment your favorite NFL players so I can make a video about them. That's gonna be it for this week. I'll see you guys on the next one.